So today, guys, we're going to go through a brief EAACO framework review and the EAACO script. So first off, what does EAACO stand for? Engage, assess, assign, call to action, and obligation. So we're going to start with there. Now, I'll go through the document real quick and I'll elaborate on this briefly, and I'll use one other tool to show you this more in practice. But the EAACO framework is a proven, insanely systematic booking framework we use every single day. We've seen brand new appointment setters turn into booking freaks, landing 6 to 8 appointments per day using this framework. So engage. Number one, engage the croc brain. And there are really two methods we use to properly engage and acknowledge the prospect's pains enough that they will allow us to begin getting into the assessment phase. And then assessing the situation. In our PDOCS verbiage, we call that a knowledge gap analysis. And I'm not going to get too much into that. I have a full training on knowledge gap into EAACO that's going to be a little longer. I'm going to try to keep this one a little more brief. So if you want that, just let me know, or whoever sent you this training, and they can get that over. But once you've engaged the croc brain, the prospect's walls will come down and you can begin assessing the situation, where they are, where they want to be, and kind of what's been the hurdle in stopping them from getting there. Then we're going to do what's called assign the frame. And I like to assign a new frame. And excuse me, once we've assessed the situation, again, this will make more sense if you watch the knowledge gap analysis, but where we assign the frame is where we would inject a knowledge gap. So once you know what's holding the prospect back, you can assign a brand new frame. Done right, the prospect will become problem aware, and the amount of trust you have built outweighs any other interaction you could likely have with them, especially this quick and in this format. And what that means, like when done right and the prospect will become unaware, or how you can assign a brand new frame even, what we want to do is kind of show them unexpected solutions. So what's a mainstream problem we have? Hey, Ray, I don't have a consistent, predictable lead generation or client acquisition system built into my system. Okay, Mr. Prospect, and then I'll assess them a little bit. And then when I assign a new frame, hey, did you ever think of, instead of running paid ads, I could show you how to build a consistent, predictable process through organic outreach until we generate some revenue, and then we can start running ads out of profit instead of out of pocket. Which one's a better solution for you going forward? Right. So that's just an example off the top of my head, just without actual discussion going on where I could do that in real time. Then we would set a call to action, and we use what's called a micro commitment process throughout this. And again, anybody that's been through my trainings or wants to understand the micro commitment process, let us know. We have a training just on that. But by now, you want to create a call to action. This could be a triage call if you feel they're ready to book them in. It could be even a strategy session, or it could just be a resource right now. Now, usually I'm going to use the resource along with the booking, and we have a framework for that called the customer creation offer. And it's a little framework for how you can build out resources that you will be valuable, right? So you want them to prepare for the call, give them a homework in the form of case studies, pre-frame materials, additional content, right? We'll go into what's using our, CCO framework as we talked about. And this says in day 3 because this was set up in one of the challenges we run. We run a few, booking PDOCS challenges such as this. We run master your messaging challenges, so on and so forth. So then we can kind of give you the worksheet for the prep work, right? And you really want to dive into 3 things early on. And this is what you need to know to do this, right? You need to know the real problem that they're facing. Maybe not the symptom level problem, but a little more deeper into the real problem. I like to say there's symptom or surface level problems, and then there's real or root level problems, which are a little deeper. Then understand and build out a knowledge gap. So a knowledge gap is a small piece of knowledge that you know that they don't, basically. Now, this is not your mechanism, your offer, your deliverables. This is a quick rundown of how you would fix that problem. And then angst. So what's the cost of doing nothing and not solving this problem? So when we do that, and here's a brief little example, right? This example is real estate agents that have constant no-shows, right? A pretty common thing I hear when I speak to that niche and industry. So we first assess the real problem. Hey, the real problem for the no-shows are that the leads are not qualified enough to see value in the call. Therefore, they don't show up. So to fix this, we have a strategy. We have a follow-up system that gets firm commitments. Excuse me a minute. From the leads, even for scheduling, which we call our micro commitment process, right? And then the angst is over here. So sorry, it keeps highlighting this program weird, but if they do not fix this, then they just continue to get ghosted by low commitment level leads. This has a huge opportunity cost, as there is really no filter here, right? So you could word that a little differently. That's a little technically worded. I would probably make it a little more conversational, but same difference, right? Hey man, the real problem with your no-shows isn't necessarily that you're doing something wrong. It's that you're just not getting the right qualified qualified leads, or you're not having the process to qualify them. Therefore, they don't see enough value to show up to the call, right? We fix this by building a micro commitment system that gets them firm commitments and leads to increased show rates on every offer we've implemented that in. Now, if you don't seem to fix this, you're just going to keep continuing your low show rate and getting ghosted by a low commitment level, which is usually a low quality lead, which ultimately has a huge cost on the business and, missing out on quality opportunities, right? So engage. And engaging, we'll go through this. There's other references in here, our how hero reference points and building out that script. And again, this goes more in depth where we give you the actual frameworks and categories. And I'm going to sit here and go through the whole 10-page worksheet. I just wanted to go over the beginning levels, right? What I will run you through really quick, because I'm not going through the whole thing, but this is kind of a rough example of what a knowledge gap would look like in a sense. I'm going to show you a better example momentarily, but kind of what have they tried, right? A, never been able to lose weight. And again, this problem is cannot lose weight or gain muscle, right? So this was being a fitness or weight loss industry, right? Never been able to lose weight or gain muscle, or reached a plateau on weight loss or muscle gain, right? So then we would ask them, are you doing this or are you doing that? And then each time it would dump them down into a different scenario. So now for each one of these scenarios, number 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the bottom, we inject a different knowledge gap. So we're basically, what I mean here, guys, is what you're going to say to this prospect who doesn't have a current routine is much different what you're going to say for this guy who has never changed his routine, or this guy who focuses on specific muscle groups. So once you break these down into like the different avenues, you're going to inject an unexpected solution and a knowledge gap, right? So assigning the frame. To assign the frame, you really need 4 requirements. Permission, simply ask, can I weigh in on this, is the easiest way to do that. Identifying and explaining the real problem to them, and using softeners like sounds like, or it appears like, or it looks like what happened, or what helped me was when I did this, right? Not saying you're awful, you're doing things wrong, but be a little more empathetic with it. Knowledge gap. Insert your knowledge gap in the form of a story, something past tense, which you already did to fix it. You've already solved this problem. And then angst, explain how someone or most people get it wrong, and illustrate the cost of doing nothing or the cost of going through all the trial and error when you can streamline that, right? So again, this worksheet goes in a lot more depth, but that's what we're doing. We are engaging with people. We are assigning a new frame. We are assessing the situation, assigning a new frame, getting a call to action, and then obligation. So let me show you one more powerful resource where this is going to be really, really applicable and relevant. And then you're going to see an EAACO board here. Now, if I'm just to zoom out really, really quickly, you're going to see where my little mouse is hovering right here on this EAACO. This is just one fraction of all the resources and material and documents and scripts and SOPs built into this board. This is a board that my private clients get in my PDOCS client acquisition program. I'm actually currently offering for about the price of a cup of coffee a day. So if you're not sure about it, ask myself or a team member and they can get you a little more info. So we show you ways to engage, right? And let's just keep this really baseline. We're going to reach out and engage via possibly paid ads, maybe via organic outreach and posts, comments, maybe via cold email, maybe via LinkedIn outreach. However we're reaching out, doesn't matter. We still need to engage and capture their attention, right? And then we're going to assess the situation. So this is a pretty good general knowledge gap. And again, I have a full training on this, so I'm not going to spend more than a couple minutes tops on this. I'll try to keep it even less than that. But we made a generic one for anybody really launching or optimizing their high-ticket online offers, coaches, experts, service providers, agencies, yada, 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 right? So the way to fill out a knowledge gap and to start doing this for yourself is, number one, what's the first question you want to ask a prospect to see if they're a good fit for your offer, your solution, your service? Well, I want to know if they're kind of established, Ray, and if they're already doing at least 5 figures a month, right? So the prerequisite to doing this right is everything you do in these questions, they all have to be binary. Yes, no, over, under, right, left, hot, cold, right? So you have to word it. If you're saying 5 figures a month, well, that minimum is 10K. So let's pick a objective number rather than a subjective figure, which 5 figures could be a number of things, right? So that's my point. So are you doing at least 10K per month? Let's say they say yes. What's the next question you want to ask them? Well, Ray, I want to ask them if they're charging a high ticket. Okay, but again, that's subjective. So what do you consider? What's objectively high ticket? For me, that's my 3K and up packages. Okay, cool. So are you charging at least 3K? If they say no to that, you're going to say, is the reason you're not charging more due to fulfillment, meaning you don't feel like you're delivering enough value to charge high ticket? Or your lead quality, meaning you just feel like your leads can't actually afford 3K and they would never pay you that much, right? Which we all know is a big misconception. They're probably just not solving a big enough problem or not dealing with the right market. There could be all kinds of reasons. But then based on each one of those, I can inject a knowledge gap. So if they say it's a lead quality, hey, what if I can show you how to create an offer, as I just said, that solves a bigger problem, right? And therefore, you can charge more money and work with an audience that can pay that, right? So we just keep going down. And as we go down, as you go down on the right and more people say, yes, that's your more sophisticated audience. Yes, I'm over 10K. Yes, I'm charging high ticket. Yes, I'm already enrolling 4 clients. As you go down here, you're going to see these knowledge gaps are all the yellow boxes. So there's a total of 9 here on this screen that we came up with. Basically, again, depending on where they're at, as you get down over here, these are going to be your more sophisticated knowledge gaps. Like, hey, what if I could show you how to build out? Now, this guy has low close percentage, and he basically says it's due to the quality of his leads. So we want to show him how to build a qualifying process for his leads that only get the right people through to the sales calls, not wasting any time and resources, right? Or they feel like the reason for their low close percentage is not overcoming objections and the actual sales call, right? So then we go into different solutions about how to overcome these sales issues. There's 4 different knowledge gaps about that. Now, what we do in the whole EAACO framework, and I'll scroll back out momentarily, is we take each one of these, in this case there was 9, and we dump them down into these yellow boxes below. So for example, there's just 5 there in yellow. But each one of these knowledge gaps goes down into this script, and this is where we assign the new frame. And as I said, as I was going through on the other document, ask permission and these type of things. So this is how it starts. And again, let me just go back up and pick one out of there just so it's really relevant. And let's go up and pick... Okay, so let's say that they are not generating enough conversations right here in this blue box with their ideal prospect per day. Should be per day, not per week there. I meant to fix that. And then what if my knowledge gap is to show you where to find and how to generate 10 quality conversations per day using organic methods, okay? So let's go down and put that into play real quick, right? So, hey man, do you mind if I weigh in on this? No, I don't mind. Go tell me, I'd love to hear your advice, right? Cool. So I deal with this quite often, and it sounds to me like the reason you're having problems, ultimately getting in enough conversations or booking enough calls is because you're not just generating enough conversations per day, right? If we can get in more conversations, we can likely generate more bookings and more appointments and more clients. So what we do, and here's where I inject the knowledge gap, and again, this is a baseline one, which I've left blank. I have these fully built out, but what we do when we work with our private clients is we build out what's called an auto-organic process, which is a predictable, consistent way to generate 10 plus quality conversations per day. Where most people go wrong is they just double down on the amount of platforms and the amount of different outreach they do, rather than focusing on one method that's scalable and that's consistent and predictable. Does that make sense? Right? So again, I did all those aspects. I assessed where he was at. I injected the real problem, not enough conversations. I told him how we solved that problem. Then I kind of built the cost of doing nothing and not taking action. And then I always confirm if the frame was accepted by making sense, right? Hey man, does that make sense? When you do this right, when you've assessed the situation, when you drop them into the right bucket and you filled it into the script right, you're almost going to get a yes out of this, close to 100% of the time. I mean, very, very common. But when we get down to the 4th stage and the call to action, what there is 3 different frames of acceptance, really. We should be getting strong. There's also medium. Hey, Ray, that kind of makes sense, but I'm not really sure that would work for me. Or a weak frame. That makes no sense, Ray. I don't think that would work whatsoever, right? And then I have a little framework for how to tie them down, how to get them to the next step, get them to a call booking, right? Insert homework, all that stuff. And then the last phrase, the O, obligation. This is what's called touch point and tie down messaging that increases show rates, communication, and it's just pretty much that's it. It really keeps the communication fluent, because a lot of times if we book somebody in Messenger on Wednesday and the call's not till Friday or next Monday, a lot of people send the invite, say, yeah, I got it, and then they don't communicate and they just expect them to show up. Now, if that's what you're doing, you're probably getting very low show rates. So by just doing these couple little extra messages, 24 hours and about 30 minutes prior to the call, you're going to increase show up rates. And here's some examples of exactly how to do that. So, that's a pretty good overview of the EAACO framework. And what I will do as well as I will include this doc right in the description of this video, wherever you're watching it, or if somebody sent it over to you, I will have them send the link as well.